So our next guest, and we're actually like a minute early. I didn't realize. I don't know if she's here yet, but Kerrie, well, let's talk a little bit about Kerrie
Now let's
Mallory-Thompson
talk about this woman's accomplishments, Shannon. Um,
because she's amazing.
yes, Kerrie Mallory-Thompson. Kirk made me feel like a slacker. Now Kerrie's really going to make me feel like one. She's a single mom whose autism journey started in 2012 when her son Conor was diagnosed at 2. For the past 10 years, she's been documenting their autism journey on social media. And she shares about everything that they are dealing with on a daily basis, um, both good and bad. She believes knowledge is power, and for this reason, her autism journey is an open book so she can help educate others. She has been very active in the community. She's donated countless hours. She started in 2012 by serving on the walk committees for Autism Speaks. And along with another mom, she formed a local autism advocacy organization called Arizona Autism Network of the West Valley, otherwise known as ASA Now, where she served as president. Um, and that was, I believe, morphed into another organization. Yes.
Yes. In
It
2018, yeah.
blended into the Autism Society of Greater Phoenix. And she also does a Sensitive Santa event
Yes.
in the community that she organized. And this will be her 8th year organizing the event and the 15th year of the actual event. In addition to serving on the autism community, she is the PTA president at Conor School.
Of course, because she would be all those. And I want to say that Kerrie is, I would say, the first person that went from being someone who watched the show to being someone that I consider a part of my life and a friend. That Kerrie is, she's one of those people who always is going to go the extra mile. And I have to give her credit because you know me, Nancy. I'm somebody who stays at home and never goes anywhere. And that was before COVID. That to get me out of the house and go someplace is a little bit of a challenge. I'm very much a homebody. But so when you see me out, it's like there was an effort and it's got to be something relatively important. And it was last June, I want to say, that Kerrie comes to Los Angeles on a pretty regular basis. And I've seen her a couple of times when she's come here. And she came once and was on the show in the studio once before, but then she came last year after, we had been through all of the seclusion and vaccinated and everything, and said, I'm coming. Do you want to come and see me and my son, her son, Conor? And so we went and we saw them. It was just brief. It was just for a short period of time. But we went and saw them. And afterwards I was explaining to somebody and they were like, wait a second, like you, Shannon, left your house and went and saw people out in public. And they were like, I got to meet this woman. She's going to be someone that's like totally amazing because for you to have done that. And she is. Kerrie is absolutely that person. I don't think that she realizes how much of a homebody I am and how I never go anywhere. Maybe she does now. But I do consider her a friend, and I consider her and her son part of our family now because that's how long we've known each other. And she was now there are several people that we've become close with that started out on the either on the show or that we met them because they were watching the show. But I would say Kerrie was absolutely the first. So all those things. Now I promise you, she doesn't disappoint, and she's here now with us. So welcome, Kerrie Mallory-Thompson, back to the show.
Welcome.
Hello. Hi.
I am loving that background. I just have to stop. Is that like I have to ask, knowing you, is that something you made? Did you just print that?
No. This is actually in our one of our conference rooms at my main job. So
I kind of love it.
And I forgot to mention, you work full time and you have a side business. Of course you do.
And that side business we've featured before on the show, ThelmaLou Creations. In fact, we've featured that side business on our toy and gift guide before.
Mhm.
and that you have some plans for that. I don't know if we're allowed to talk about any of that yet, but do you want to talk about what your hope is for that side business, or is it too early to talk about that? That
Oh, no,
wasn't on the
no.
list of topics, but do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, we can talk about it. So we started the business mainly just to have fun and kind of make some extra money for us to be able to go because Pam, my best friend, she lives in California. They're in the Los Angeles area, and I live in Phoenix. So, traveling and gas and all that kind of stuff gets expensive. So we were trying to find a way to make it work. So we're like, well, hey, let's do this. And, I got the creative part, and you can do the bookkeeping and the social media and all that kind of stuff. So, as we kind of got into it, she's got a daughter on the spectrum. I've got my son on the spectrum. We're like, let's do something that gets them involved. And then as I'm doing things, Connor wants to help. So I'm like, the wheel started turning. And with Pam being a BCBA, she's like, well, I can write the program and we can teach people how to, do jobs and job skills and, associate with the community and, do all this kind of stuff. So then our long-term goal right now is to one, have a job, a business built for our kids. But long-term is to also have a business in which we can employ others on the spectrum, get them the life skills and the independence that they need.
You gotta
Right.
love it.
What a
You
great,
gotta love
what
it.
a great effort. Now, Kerrie, you're here as part of our autism family portrait. So we want to talk about your journey with your son, Conor. I understand he was diagnosed at 2. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. um, when he was 18 months, he wasn't talking. He was walking on his toes, all the normal cliche, you know, things that you see. I took him to the doctor, and he said at the time, the doctor said, well, he's only 18 months. Let's wait until he's 2 and see what happens. And, as time progressed, I realized that 6 months was probably one of the biggest mistakes I made, was waiting that 6-month period. So when he was 2, we took him in again, and we had him just for his regular 2-year well checkup. And they said, okay, well, let's get his eyes checked, his ears checked, and let's get him in with the developmental pediatrician to see what they say. So we then took him in a little after his 2nd birthday and got all of his eyes checked, his ears checked. That was not fun because of his sensory issues, and I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that he was scared. So then we took him to the developmental pediatrician, and he was in a room. I was behind a glass window, a 2-way window. There was 3 people in the room doing various testing with him. But to me, it looked like play. I didn't know what I was looking for. I mean, they were playing with balloons and blocks and all kinds of stuff. Well, in this room that I was in, there was 4 additional people that were observing what was going on in the room. I was like, this is intense. And after about 3 hours of that, the main doctor, he came back in and he goes, well, we've done an evaluation. We're going to give you a full write-up, which he ended up giving us a 32-page report of everything. I mean, everybody had their own notes and all kinds of stuff, but he goes, basically, we're going to put him down as at risk for autism. And he said, that's going to get you in the door with the state services, which it did. And immediately went and crawled under a cover and cried for a couple days. So one of the packets that he gave me had a slip in there for Autism Speaks. And at the time, I didn't know what I was looking for, so I'm looking through this packet of stuff, and I go and I start signing up for this and to get this information and that information. And out of the blue, the Arizona director for the walk, her name is Amy Hummel. She called me, and I don't normally answer the phone for phone numbers that I don't know, but for some reason I did. And it was Amy. And she said, hey, I just saw that you signed up for the walk. And, I just want to see if you had any questions. And I ended up talking to her for almost an hour. If not for that phone call, I would probably still be under my covers right now, because I didn't know what I was going to do, nothing. But Amy was the spark that I needed. And ever since I hung up that phone, I haven't stopped.
And boy, isn't that the truth? Because we went through even just a part of your resume, which is extensive. You don't stop. You're like the Energizer Bunny, to the point where I worry about you because, like, you are like you're a force, woman. a real force, but a force for good. I just want you to take care of yourself. But talk to us a little bit about Autism Will Not Define My Son, how you started that, and what it is, and how can people follow what you
Sorry.
do. You're okay. Do you need a drink?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I hope.
Okay. All
Um,
right.
so when he was first diagnosed and they told me that, hey, he's at risk for autism, that was the first time that I'd heard that. And I went home, and the first thing that my family said was, don't let them put a label on him. And I was like, I don't care what label they put on him. I don't care what they call him, as long as he can get in with the state and get the services that he needs and the help that he needs. So from that point on, I was like, how am I going to keep everybody in the loop of what's going on? I've got, people here. Excuse me. How am I going to keep everybody involved? At the time, Facebook groups wasn't an option, and it didn't exist. So I was like, well, let's start this page. So I started Autism Will Not Define My Son. So at the time, I was like, well, he can have the label of autism, but it's not going to define who he is. He's going to define who he is when he's ready to do that. So that's what started the page. And I mainly started it just to keep the family involved.
But you have so many people who participate, Kerrie. You do a live feed, and you get more people live than we do when we're live. I mean, because you keep it very real, and it's really interesting. In fact, you one of the things that I always tune in whenever I can. Conor likes to cook.
Oh, yeah.
And you do cooking with Conor. Tell people about what you do and how you do it, and when people can check, and where people can check that out.
Well, he's been cooking for years. Even if it's just something as simple as, making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, which he won't eat, but we work on the spreading skills and all that kind of stuff. But he likes to cook. He would prefer his iPad. He would prefer his Switch games, but he does like to cook. And excuse me.
If you want to take a
Sorry.
break to get water, we'll happily take a break, and Nancy and I'll say nice
Absolutely.
things about while you get a drink.
Okay, 1 second.
Right.
Okay, no
Take your
problem.
time. But Nancy, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to watch some of the cooking segments. It's so much fun to watch Conor, and sometimes he has some of his friends there.
Oh, that's great. I'll have to check that out.
I actually think Wyatt would really enjoy it too, because I know Wyatt enjoys cooking too.
Yeah, Wyatt likes to cook, and we actually have that. I'm going to talk to his in clinic tomorrow. I'm going to talk to them about doing a cooking program, because years ago we used to bake and cook, and we kind of stopped. And I want him to be more self-sufficient at that.
I actually think that Wyatt would enjoy watching Conor, and I think other people, if you're watching and you want role models for your kiddos, watching Conor cook is really beneficial for them. But you'll also see how Kerrie does it, which I think is really educational too, Kerrie.
Well, thank you. So we first started with baking because he likes to decorate things, whether it's cookies or cupcakes. He won't eat them. He's not a sweets kid. But he likes to decorate them. Yeah. But he likes to mix and, do all the stuff with that. So that's kind of where we started. And then it kind of evolved into, okay, well, you're going to need to learn how to cook for yourself. So then we started grilled cheese sandwiches and pancakes. I think was probably the first thing that he kind of mastered, and even flipping, he loves doing that. So he now makes hamburgers on the griddle. He'll make spaghetti. I mean, you name it, this kid can make it. When we were sick with COVID at the beginning of December, he was 100% on his own, making all of his meals. Granted, they were frozen, but he was putting stuff in the toaster oven. I would look over and, bundled up in my blanket, I would look over at him, and he's got the pot holders and he's pulling it out of the thing. And I was like, that's my baby.
And how old is Conor now? Nancy asked me before, and I was like, how old is he? I didn't even want to guess, because I guessed and I was like, I could be really wrong.
He just turned 12 in December.
Okay. So I was like, I said he's either about to be 13 or he just turned 12. So I wasn't that wrong.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. He just turned 12 in December.
Now let's go back, Kerrie. Conor was nonverbal until what year of age, and you refused to believe that he would stay nonverbal. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it was actually just this past summer that all of his speech therapists got together and they all agreed that yes, they can confirm that he's no longer considered nonverbal, but he's got a severe speech delay.
Okay.
So that was huge for our team, huge.
What advice do you have for parents that with nonverbal children? Do you have any advice for them?
Don't give up, first of all. Don't underestimate your kids because they're smarter than you think. That's for darn sure. But my motivation was I asked one of his speech therapists at the time when he was probably, I don't know, 5. It was before he was diagnosed with apraxia. And I said, "Do you think he's ever going to talk?" And her response to me was, "I don't think he'll ever have a meaningful conversation with you like you and I are having, but I think he'll be able to express his wants and his needs." And I'm like, "Oh no, no, it's not happening." So at the time, he had just gone from PECs to using an iPad and using the touch chat program. And I was like, "No, he's going to find other ways." So as soon as that was the spark that I needed, because we then put him with sign language. We started him with basic sign language. We forced reading and writing even more so than what we were doing before. And then that kind of progressed into him typing and not using the PECs with the touch chat program, but using the actual keyboard on the iPad and typing what he was wanting. So once we knew what he was trying to tell us, then we could verbalize it to him, and then we had him verbalize it back to us. But when he was struggling, just trying to communicate and tell us what he was wanting and what he was needing, we were having a hard time. Now he's at the point where 90% of what the immediate people around him can understand. When we can't understand him, we tell him to go get his iPad and he gets mad. He's like, "I don't want to use my iPad. I want you to understand what I'm saying and listen to my mouth and listen to my words." So it was a struggle for a while, seeing him struggle and just watching the tears build up in his eyes, when he knew what he was trying to say, and you knew that he knew what he was trying to say, and it just wouldn't come out. That was probably the hardest thing for me was to watch that.
Yeah, when if you watch videos of Connor, it is he's just such a sweet soul, but he is also someone that you see the frustration. He is so clear that it's like he knows what he wants and he gets frustrated when and of course I haven't seen him now since last summer. It is heartbreaking to think that there are families out there who have been told, well, you might as well give up because your child has apraxia. And I think that you are someone that everybody needs to follow because you have been really at the forefront of this. You and a handful of other mothers who have said, no, I'm not accepting that. I think you're changing the face of apraxia, Kerrie.
Well, I hope so, because it's just a diagnosis. It's just another label. Um, people have to find different ways to teach because all of our kids are different. They're all going to learn differently. They all understand things differently. You could say blue when it's actually purple, but it's still in the same color combination. He was sick. Well, he's still sick. He's got a nasty cough, but I started giving him some cough medicine just to try and get rid of that. And for years, he would only take medicine out of a syringe for years. This past year, he started using the little cup that comes with the medicine now. Well, when he got sick just after COVID, and a couple weeks ago, when I tried to give him cough medicine, he would get sick. Same resort, he would gag and throw up and that kind of thing. And I was like, okay, well, we used the syringe before. Now we go to the cup. Maybe we go back to the syringe. So we did, and he took the cough syrup, no problems whatsoever. So it's just in finding a different method and a different way to teach and to communicate with them. They're trying to find different ways to communicate with us. We need to find different ways to teach and communicate that to them.
Amen to that. I wanted to ask you a question about you've talked about a couple of different things you've done. Talk to us a little bit about the interventions that you've used, because I imagine that there are people who are watching right now, Kerrie, that they're pretty new to this, and they're hearing your story and they want to know what interventions have you tried, what worked, what was helpful.
Um, we've tried almost everything. We started with developmental therapy, occupational, physical, speech, all that kind of stuff, the normal things. And then we started ABA as well. He's had some amazing therapists. His dream team is awesome. Having a therapy team is crucial to anything. Um, you know, with the ABA therapy that he's done, he's had everything from, aggression to wandering to elopement, um, inappropriate hitting, that kind of thing. And we've used everything from reinforcements to functional communication training, extinction, all kinds of different ABA type therapies. And for the most part, they're working. I mean, right now he still gets a little bit, um, shows some aggression when there's some speech issues and he still can't, get his point across. If you tell him no and he's got to give the iPad back without a warning, he shows some aggression. But I would probably say almost all of the therapies that we've done have affected him in a positive way.
Great. So you encourage parents to try a little bit of everything, I would imagine.
Yeah, whatever works. I mean, sometimes, you find a therapy that works, you find a therapy that doesn't work, but it's all, in my opinion, it's all on the therapist too.
Right.
There's good ABA and there's bad ABA. Being, who I am and what I've seen here in the Valley and in Phoenix, I've seen a lot of bad ABA. I'm so grateful that Conor's never had to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't had to experience any negative therapy, nothing. I mean, his dream team from the get-go has been amazing.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Kerrie, for sharing your journey.
Absolutely. I got a couple of more questions here, Nancy. You are a single parent. This is its very own particular thing, Kerrie. What advice? I mean, look at all the things that you're doing and you're a single parent. What advice do you have for the single parents who are going it alone?
Know that you're not the only one having to go through this by yourself. It happens, it's not the journey that I had planned for us, but things happen and sometimes they happen for the better. And, this was a choice that I made. And I think my son has progressed and is better for the choice that I made. But you have to have support. You can't do it by yourself. And Shannon, you know better than anybody that I have a hard time with that concept.
Yes.
But
yes, because Kerrie's going to try to lift the world on her own. That's always your thing.
But the reality is, I know that I can't do it by myself. Like I said, Conor has an amazing team. Conor's dream team has been there since the beginning. I've got my family as support. My parents are still, kicking, and they help with all kinds of things. His therapists help. You have to have friends and family around, and if they can't help physically, they can help, talk you off the ledge sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I've called his former BCBA, who's also my best friend, who we started this business with, and said, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. I need some help." So just having somebody to call and pick you up off that bathroom floor, sometimes that's all you need.
That's so
Well,
important.
as much as I think you try to do things on your own, Kerrie, I also think you're somebody who is I think you've done a better job of anybody that I'm aware of at putting together a team and then adding people to the team. And I don't know anybody who is as persistent as you are at asking questions. I mean, you weren't gonna, when you started watching the show, you weren't gonna you weren't gonna just be a viewer. You persisted and would ask me questions, and then you came to LA and said, "Hey, can we have lunch?" And you were persistent.
Oh, so I was annoying?
No, you're the thing that Nancy always says. Nancy is the queen of saying, "Be a dog on a pork chop," and you are a dog on a pork chop. you don't let things, you're like, hey, if you have information that maybe help me, I want to talk to you. You're a mover and a shaker. No, I don't mean it at all as a negative. It's very much a compliment.
Well, I think any information that, for example, that you guys might have that Shannon, I've learned a lot from you in the past,
Well, likewise.
that any information that I get from somebody else is going to help somebody else down the road, which is another reason why I've continued with, the Autism Will Not Define My Son page and continue to put stuff on it constantly, is that I get comments and private messages from, trolls, unfortunately, but I also get them from parents saying, you know what, you just helped me with the problem that I was having, or thank you for posting this because I was at my wit's end, or something like that. That was not my anticipation when I had started that page. Again, it was just to keep family involved, but it's starting to, take traction, and people are starting to learn from it and learn things. And, like with the cooking with Conor, I hope maybe Wyatt can tune in one time and see something and say, hey, that's cool. I want to do that. Or,
Yeah.
flip a burger a different way, whatever the case is.
Nancy, I've been hogging the questions. Did you want to ask a question?
Just in hindsight, looking back, is there anything you would have done differently on this journey?
I think the only thing I would have done differently is given myself a little bit more grace.
Uh-huh.
Because at the beginning of this, I tried to figure out exactly what it was that I did wrong.
Right.
What caused this? What could I have done differently?
Mm-hmm.
And now, 10 years later, and ironically, February 10th was the 10-year mark of when he was diagnosed with being at risk. So 10 years later, I'm now sitting here going, you know what? I know it's not anything that I did. There's too much unknown, whether it's this or that or that or this, or a combination of whatever, what caused it. It doesn't matter what caused the autism. Now we figure out how to make it work in our lives and how to make him successful.
Such important advice. I think oftentimes as parents, we don't give ourselves enough slack, enough credit. We don't show ourselves enough self-love. We're constantly comparing and asking why instead of focusing on the positive. So that's great advice, Kerrie.
Absolutely. We've only got a couple of minutes left, but really quickly, what's been the hardest thing and what's been the most wonderful, the best thing on this journey?
I think the hardest at the beginning was realizing that I had to do this alone, and then realizing that I wasn't alone. But personally with him, I think, like I said before, was watching him try and struggle to tell me what it was he wanted to say, and literally be this close to him and see the eyes well up with tears and not be able to understand what he wants. And you just want to say, baby, just tell me, what's wrong. That's probably, and sometimes still is, the hardest. I think probably on the other end of that, hearing that he's no longer considered nonverbal, knowing that everything that we've gone through over the last 10 years and everything that, he's gone through. I mean, he's 52 hours a week, 54 hours a week at times. He was going through therapy, schools, all kinds of stuff. I mean, that's more than I put in sometimes in a work day, and he's doing that with therapy and stuff. So just to see the progress that he's made, and that's probably the most rewarding.
Amazing.
Great.
And where can follow you and find, where do they need to go to, for instance, follow Autism Will Not Define My Son?
On Facebook, just go Autism Will Not Define My Son. I just started Instagram. I don't know why I didn't do that 10 years ago, but I didn't. But I know there's a lot of people jumping off of Facebook, and I still want it to be a source for them. So we just started Instagram as well, but Autism Will Not Define My Son on Facebook.
Okay.
Amazing.
And Conor's cooking, where can we see that? On the same page?
That is on Facebook as well. I actually started a YouTube channel for him years ago, and I haven't updated it in like 5 years, and I just started doing that. he had a pampered chef party last year over the summer when he earned like $1,500 worth of free stuff. So his kitchen is set. We just, we need to get over the sickness stuff so we can start getting some cooking with Conor's scheduled. But those we'll have on YouTube and as well as his Facebook page.
Okay, great. There's your Facebook page.
Yes.
Stephen, just put up your Facebook page.
So, Kerrie, thank you so much for everything that I've learned so much from you, and I continue to learn for you and from you. And thank you for all that you do for the community. And I hope that Conor gets to feeling better.
Me too. Thank you.
Yeah, best
thank you for all that you guys do.
Well, and we'll have you back on to talk more about ThelmaLou as you move forward. And we didn't really even talk about your sensitive Santa, but you are a mover and a shaker, and we're so proud to be a part of your tribe. And I didn't mention this before, but here's something fun. Both you and Nancy share the same birthday.
So we do.
So that's always a fun thing for me, that I'm not good at remembering birthdays, but when it's one of your birthday, I go, oh, it's the other one's birthday too.
Fellow Taurus.
So
that's right.
It's coming. It's coming sooner than we think.
It's coming.
All right. So much love to you. Please give Conor a hug from us as well. Okay.
Will do.
And we'll see you sometime in the future.
Thank you, Kerrie.
Thank you, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.